Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. We are coming to you right after Bryce Eldridge gets his biggest moment of his career, obviously the biggest moment of the series, and what feels like one of the biggest moments of this season. Is it enough to make up for a rough series? We'll talk about that and more. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Mancini's is now the official sleep partner of the San Francisco Giants. You can save up to $1,200 on cooling mattresses on the Mancini Sleep World 4th of July sale. Their cooling mattresses help regulate temperature, preventing overheating, and keeping you comfortable until morning. Stop by or visit online to see what's currently available. Okay, Alex, we once again find ourselves in a podcasting situation where the Giants have overall a very rough series. And right before we go on to record, we get a big moment that I, as a fan, cannot help but just to be stoked about.
Yeah, I wrote I thought a good story, not good that anyone would want to read, but like deep dive into stolen bases and, the Giants' lack of them, their lack of speed, the Nationals stealing 3 bases with 2 outs in the 6th inning right after the Giants didn't even attempt to do the same thing when Jonah Cox, of all people, was on first base. And hit delete on that as I was walking down to Tony Vitello's press conference.
Shelve it.
Started from scratch. And all I could think about was a mailbag question we got recently, which I think about a lot, which was someone asking about a full season and us having a discussion about you never know what's going to happen on like a Tuesday.
Yeah.
And here we are, a Wednesday against the Washington Nationals, Giants down 9-1, and I don't think any of us will ever forget that game now. So
no.
Baseball, man.
In a year plagued by the Giants' complete inability to come back, I think they scored more comeback runs, meaningful comeback runs this game than the rest of the season combined.
My guy, Justice De Los Santos of the Mercury News, will back this up. He came up to me at some point, I think in the 8th, and we were talking about it, and I mentioned something about the comeback. And I was like, they haven't done this yet this year. Like, this is the one they haven't done. We were talking about that. Like, 8 runs is crazy, but they hadn't even had, like, just felt like there's been a lot of games here, especially at home, including Monday nights, where they just haven't had those moments and they haven't come through. And so to do it that way, it just kind of felt like a perfect storm there at the end. And, just a really, really cool moment for Bryce. And I thought even, at the end of the road trip and again, like behind the notepad a little bit, I was gathering some stuff for an off day story on his contact skills and where this has all gone for him. Cause he finishes Tuesday's game hitting 300. And so I talked to him after Tuesday's game and talked to him on Tuesday afternoon about the way Monday's game ended. And he's really come a long way in a short period of time. And I think my main thought with him is just like, I don't know where this goes now with him. Like, he's 21 years old and he's got a 900 OPS in the big leagues currently. He's putting up, like, he's WRC plus. He's tied with Corbin Carroll currently, like for 12th in the big leagues among guys with over 100 plate appearances. And he's 21 and he's still learning. And I think we've seen, there's some strength to be added. So some of those warning track fly balls, get out. He's going to learn as he goes, but I just think it's so special that he wants these moments and he talks constantly about greatness. If people are bored on the off day, go back and listen to, like, I sat down with him last year in Sacramento, sat down with him this spring. He constantly talks about how he wants to be there with Buster and Will Clark and some of the legends in recent Giants history. And it's like, I think you and I have talked about this. Like, it doesn't come off as cocky. It comes off as like, this is what I'm here to do. And I've said this before. He reminds me a lot of Bryce Harper, who I've interviewed a few times. And I don't think it's an accident because he grew up watching Bryce Harper and kind of, I think, has picked up some of his mannerisms, some of his drive, and is just really talented. And yeah, I just don't know where this goes for him. Like, we thought he was going to be good, but to do this at 21 and to have this kind of sense of a moment, like, he truly is the guy you build a franchise around.
Exactly. This version of we're seeing of him right now feels like what Giants fans have been waiting for, the farm system, the scouting system, everything to come together and put together for more than a decade now, since the Posey rookie era. I mean, Bryce Eldridge is 21 years old, and of all the guys on this team, all-stars, batting title winners, he's the guy you want up at the plate in the big moment. I mean, he steps in the box and he's like Jonah Cox facing a position player.
He's true. Truly, poor Jonah Cox. I was about to rant to start this podcast about them waiting for Jonah Cox today. Like, can they let this guy finish a game? But
justice for Jonah.
Justice for Jonah. This is maybe getting too far ahead of it. And granted, I'm an hour out of the clubhouse where we're, talking to Bryce about becoming the youngest player in MLB history to hit a walk-off grand slam. By the way, Roberto Clemente was the previous record holder. So
wow, good company.
Yeah. But I don't think this is prisoner of the moment because he is a first-round pick. He has been a top prospect since that moment. He's been this guy his whole life, and this is all. He had a funny quote today where he said, like, there was never any possibility of me having an office job. Like, yeah, this is what he's been working towards his whole life, and he's talented enough to do it. And big picture, I think if you're the Giants, you have to just kind of, if you're Buster Posey and Zach Manassi and then sitting in the suite today and watching that happen, I'm sure you're very, very excited. And then tomorrow on the off day, I probably give some thought to like what is best for the Bryce Eldridge Giants down the line. And what's best. I think at some point it's going to be like he's very clearly the guy here. Mm-hmm. Maybe some point sooner than we ever imagined because this is happening really fast. But I think I had a conversation with someone about this week about how they've kind of blocked him at first base. Yeah, it's just Devers is a huge part of that comeback today as well. So you don't blame them for that. But it is odd that this guy who looks like he's going to be a franchise cornerstone cannot play his preferred position currently. Mm-hmm. So I think big picture, you take a step back and think about what do you add around him? What does this lineup look like in a few years? Because he is going to be hitting second for a long time or third or wherever your preferred spot is for him.
It's really refreshing to have a player where we'll be able to go back and take a look at the 2023 draft and have other teams say, wow, we could have gotten Eldridge, who went at 16. I mean, how many times have we had that discussion here on this podcast? Giants could have had so-and-so. Giants could have had so-and-so. And finally, the shoe can be on the other foot. I'm glad you mentioned Devers because I kind of just want to shout out that ninth inning in general for being exactly the type of inning we've wanted. You have Arias taking full advantage of Triple's alley. You have Devers taking a walk. Jung-Hoo Lee just getting on base, which it seems like he does with such ease now. And it all comes together to set the table for the big slugger. It could not have been written up better.
Yeah, I saw you Tuesday night at the ballpark, rare in-person meeting for the Giants Clubhouse. And I think we said something like we're basically just waiting for Lee and Eldridge to come around every time this lineup turns, and then Chapman behind him in recent days. So, yeah, it is like for as much excitement as there is today, it is one of those that probably on the drive home I'm going to be thinking about how, like, imagine if they had hit even a little bit for the first 6 weeks of the season. Imagine if they had put some pitching around this group that, like, this really is a dangerous lineup when they're right.
Let's not forget that Eldridge was brought up about a month and a week ago as almost like a bailout distraction.
Yeah.
So if they're hitting, who knows what his development, what his call update and all that ends up looking like. I mean, it's almost like the season came together with their struggles to set the table here for the future of Bryce Eldridge's career.
Yeah, I mean, what if they win a couple games in Tampa and they don't feel like and Rodriguez have to show up on Monday?
Yeah, as we've said many times, he's kind of boxed out at first base, so there's not a huge rush to get him here. But now it's just like, thank goodness they did.
It's a very strange way to get here, and look, there's going to be, like, we've done the Daniel Suzak thing, we've done the There's going to be a stretch for him where he's not going like he has been going the last couple of weeks. But I think with him, and this is where I always kind of lean back with guys like this, is like, this is who he's supposed to be. So it's not necessarily in 2026 on June 10th, but this is who the Giants expected. This is what the industry has expected of him. This is why when, they're calling around at the trade deadline in recent years, the first name that always gets brought up is Bryce Eldridge, and they say, no, what do you got next? So this is who it's supposed to be. So, yeah, I think that's what's really exciting about today is like it looks like a Giants prospect is going to not only live up to the hype, and there's been some guys in recent years. I mean, Matos was player of the week, had a week that was maybe not quite like this with the crescendo of that Grand Slam, but he had some moments. There was a lot of Luciano excitement coming through. I know you still have Wade Meckler posters on your wall, so there's
I do.
but you know, like nobody in recent years has hit what they're supposed to be.
Yes.
Not only does he look like he's going to do that, but it's like, okay, how good can he be if he makes this kind of contact?
Yeah.
As these kind of plate appearances. It's almost like you're watching like Brandon Belt, but with more power.
Yeah.
I think it's a really interesting moment for them because you sit back and they're 28-41, and we're very, very, very close to getting swept by the Washington Nationals. And
by all accounts, they should have been. Yeah.
Should have been. Yeah. And it would have been a really embarrassing homestand. At the same time, I think this is going to be a daily thing with Bryce that you can be really excited about what's ahead and think about what's ahead and, you know, kind of plan your – and I do think it's important to just kind of plan a little bit around this type of guy. Like this is what teams do in pro sports. You have this guy. He is pre-ARB. We'll see what the CBA looks like, but he's very cheap for the next 3 years. And what do you want to do at first? What do you want to put around him in the lineup? What, you know, where can you spend your money next offseason so that this group of hitters has a better shot? And like, how do you approach the trade deadline? You know, knowing that you have this guy in the heart of your lineup. Now, what else do you need? So
the trade deadline is a good point. We've heard so much talk about rebuild, plan for the future. Well, now the future starts today. You know, this isn't like a plan for 3 years from now situation anymore. This is the window hypothetically opens now, build around it.
Well, I think that, you know, they thought they had this window with Devers and Adames and Chapman. And look, Chapman's been great. He was unbelievable today as well. Devers was really important today. Lily gets the day off, but weirdly the all-time vibes guy sitting when they have their best comeback of the year. I got to go back and watch the clips of the end to see where he was. But I think, you know, you kind of have this guy now who arrived, and you know that for the short term at least, you have these veterans locked in, and you have this kid in the middle of it who should be hitting in the heart of the lineup. So, and Jung-Hoo Lee looks like I've never seen anyone this hot really for 2 weeks. So
I want to talk about Jung-Hoo Lee, but I just for a little bit longer would love to just talk about the moment. Like here we are with the comeback on the line, the future of the franchise at the plate. Were you as convinced as I was in that moment that like it had already been written? This was happening and it was set too perfectly for it not to. I mean, I guess with how 2026 has gotten, what a foolish thought to be running through my head, but it was perfect.
Yeah, you know, I kind of was because I talked to Bryce on Tuesday afternoon. Really rough at bat Monday to end that game against Barlow, and he was really pissed about it. And I don't want to fully step on the story I wrote off of this game because I wrote a lot about that, and I hope people go and read that. But he was really annoyed on Tuesday still about the way that at bat went, and he kind of just like the last thing he said to me was he was like, it's the learning experience, and he was talking about how he was excited to get another shot at this. And I thought Tuesday when he came up in the ninth, you know, a sneaky moment that he did go dead center in the ninth, and nobody really cared because the Giants lost like 4 seconds later and lost the series. But I thought that was like, okay, this guy is keeping it going. And then I'm sitting there in the ninth on Wednesday, and it's Marlin out there, and I look down my lineup card, and you see where Eldridge is going to be. And he told us later he was doing the same thing in his head. Now it ends up being a different guy. They bring in the lefty Mitchell Parker, but yeah, it just kind of felt like it's weird in baseball because, you know, it's not like the momentum of like running for 7 yards every carry over and over again, or just in basketball when Steph hits a bunch of threes in a row. And it like baseball, you can be stopped by the next guy and the next two guys. Guy hits a double play and just all the momentum you had is gone. We saw it in the eighth, like they're just rolling, and it's like, when's this inning ever going to end? And then just like that, like
it's over.
I think it was like 2 pitches and it ended. So, but it just felt like in the 9th, again, like the momentum's rolling and you look down and I'm looking at Mitchell Parker's baseball reference page, just going like, well, they should get to this guy. So, yeah, it's a weird one to say, like you kind of saw the grand slam coming, but I think everyone in that moment kind of was thinking this is Bryce's moment. And I think the cool thing about it is we're so accustomed as people who watch the San Francisco Giants to seeing those moments and seeing guys generally in recent years not come through.
Yeah.
And so for someone to come through, and granted he did it on Monday, but for someone to come through in a moment like that, like how many times has the Giants struck out when you're like, this is going to be the Adames game, for instance, or this
exactly.
is going to be
he needs this so bad. Yeah. Here's his shot.
Especially this year. So, I just feel like that was such a cool moment and one that we're going to be, we'll see where this goes with his career, but I don't think we'll ever forget. He talked about how he dreamt of this, and I'm like, you kind of don't even dream of it going this way. You dream of the walk-off homer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really dream of the walk-off grand slam to cap an 8-run comeback in the last 2 innings, because
insane.
Giants have not done that since 1947, so it doesn't happen that way even in your wildest dreams, but it did for him.
Well, beyond that, I mean, this is Oracle Park, the ballpark built around a hitter who is one of one, and obviously a pitcher's park. Alex, per Baseball Savant, that grand slam is a home run in 1 of 30 ballparks.
I think the thing I saw was 2 here in Yankee Stadium.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Yankee has that super short push. Yeah. I'm seeing 1 here, but either way, like, this is the ballpark that's supposed to be impossible to hit home runs in. Impossible for this roster especially to do it in. And Bryce Eldridge, the future is here.
This is 60 feet out in that dumb ballpark the A's are playing in this week. That everyone's hitting pop-ups. I think that's kind of where I go to with, like, again, it sounds like a little crazy prisoner of the moment, but where you go like, what's next, and how do you think about this long term? Because this is a guy who's going to be Oracle Park proof, and he's been oracled a couple times, but he's going to be very, very good in this ballpark, and he's a great fit for this ballpark. He has the power, and as he gets older and puts on a little bit more strength, Triples Alley is not going to bother him. So the fact that I think it was like a 44-degree launch angle on this one, that he's capable of, and he's done this a few times, and you go back to his home run in the exhibition series when he kind of did the same thing, got the ball in the air to left field, and it just kept going and going and going. Like, you have your guy, and you figure out who's around him. And I really think that's what they should do. And just kind of start thinking about everything that way. And, to including like the part of the thing with Bryce, and part of his story is he comes up and Casey Schmidt's so good that they don't have the DH spot for him. And, now there's no doubt, like, is Bryce like number 1 in the guys who should play every single day the rest of the year? Like, it's split to the point where until proven otherwise, if he goes 1 for 30, we'll come on here and discuss, but until proven otherwise, like, he needs to play every single day against everybody. And I mean, he should anyway. He's going to be the face of the franchise, but like, I think that started now, where you start looking at, like, I asked Tony today about Elliot Ramos and like, what does it look like when he gets back? And you have to start thinking about that, because DH is no longer available for the rest of this season. And first base obviously isn't either. So you have to figure out where you're putting Casey and where you're putting Elliot, and does Jung-Hoo Lee play some center field, and what does that mean for these other guys? And oh, by the way, you are still 13 games under 500. Do you just have to pull the Arias Band-Aid at some point just to clear spots for guys? So I think this is an interesting one long term.
Yeah, sure. I don't care what the matchup is. I don't care the platoon options. As long as Eldridge isn't like recovering from something minor or major, he better be in that lineup. The rest of this season, the fans need to see the future of this franchise. Hey, future president of baseball operations.
he very, very well might be. And, to be fair to Tony, he has played basically every day for the last 2 weeks. So
exactly. I went to the game on Monday with some buddies, and one of them said, hey, why hasn't Bryce Eldridge been playing? And it was like, dude, you're exposing yourself. You're only getting your Giants content from the internet because the guy's been playing.
Like, he started 9 of 10 on the road trip. He started all 3 games in this series. They faced 2 lefties the last couple of days. He was, I think they were considering hitting him higher in the lineup on Wednesday, even than where he was. So they've gotten there. There was some annoyance for everybody in May, but they've gotten there.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk Jung-Hoo Lee, another just shining star of this month so far. Over his last 18 games, just a cool 500 batting average. He is red hot. When that comes up in the lineup, it is must-see TV. What is it, 18-game hitting streak right now?
18 games, longest since Angel Pagan in 2016. So,
and we're not talking like 18 games and 18 hits here. Right?
No.
He has 76 hits in those 18 games. He is absolutely on fire.
I didn't even look. I've been looking after every single one of his at-bats. There was so much. I'm frantically rewriting a story in the 9th, but he's up to 338, which is right behind old friend Otto Lopez. Imagine if the Giants had Otto Lopez and Bryce Eldridge right now. That'd be,
wow.
So yeah, he's up to 338. It's a wild hot streak. The one thing I would say with the lineup is I would just want to keep those two together.
Mm-hmm.
It does really feel like they're feeding off of each other. Bryce is feeding off of Jung-Hoo Lee, and I'm curious what Friday's lineup looks like. I kind of like to see Jung-Hoo Lee hitting leadoff and Bryce Eldridge hitting second, and just go, here you go.
Yeah,
figure it out behind him. So
that does sound. I like the sound of that a lot too, because I know Devers isn't the Devers everyone had hoped for, but he's still a scary bat to be like number 3 right behind that. Got to be careful when you're pitching to those guys. Having 2 players this hot right now is just a dream. And that's discounting Luis Arias.
Yeah. You let me give him hitting streak for him. We don't do a lot of lineup talk here because it's like, ultimately it doesn't matter. It's never our call. And so many people complain about the lineup every single day, no matter what it looks like. But I kind of like a Lee, Eldridge, Chapman, Devers on Friday.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. And, maybe you can just out hit everybody for a couple weeks and see where you stand. Just ride the hot bats. But yeah, Jung-Hoo's been incredible. I think we've talked about the All-Star thing here. I know I got a couple mailbag questions from people. Like, it is one of those where it was like, okay, a few days ago, you're like 13th in the National League in WAR among outfielders or whatever. But if you're going to be leading the league in hitting at the All-Star break and you're getting 2 hits a game, like, it becomes a real conversation. So
he's a shoo-in at that point for me, but it's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know how much I see this team getting better record-wise, because they do have obvious flaws, which we'll get to when we talk about the rest of the National Series. But as far as the standout guys, they're like built to be all-stars.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well just get to the rest of this, because it is like
you said. I mean, Alex, this is the 4th straight series where we have ended the series with a big moment, making us like, how do we approach this on the podcast?
Yeah.
Because it's really, the team deserves to be heavily critiqued, but my adrenaline's going.
They do love to do this. Yeah, they're pretty good at it. But yeah, again, 13 games under, drop
13 games under. Yeah.
And I think the way this series went is just kind of exactly who they are right now, which is the potential to be a very, very, very good lineup. Still too many missed opportunities. I mean, 25 left on base the first 2 games, but then just not enough pitching right now to get on any sort of sustained run, which we saw the first 2 games. So
yeah,
maybe guys get hot on that end, but I just don't think we've seen any reason to believe on that end.
This was until the 9th inning, until the 8th inning of Wednesday, Giants just felt like they were getting exposed by the Nats. The bullpen didn't have it. They weren't walking or stealing, to kind of the exact opposite of what the Nats were doing on the base paths. They were getting big hits, but really only when they didn't matter. The game was lost, or let's start with Monday. Logan Webb, another Webb gem. You know me, if Logan Webb's pitching like this, there's no reason to bring another arm in.
Yeah, but they did. This was going to lead two things. One, I was going to lead our podcast with had the chicken strips on Tuesday. Very small. So we've got some issues here.
All right.
Well, I'll address further at a later date, but we are backsliding in the future has arrived with Bryce Eldridge, and the past of our chicken tenders has also returned with small tenders. So it's
Bryce Eldridge saved the concession folk from a bad pod.
Probably problematic. But I think the other main thing was Monday and the way that all went down, and not a great night for Tony. And a lot's been made of this. I've talked to a lot of people the last couple of days. Sometimes now I know, like, we got the Thursday pod coming, and it's just like, let's figure out what before Thursday. Basically what happened is they told Logan he was done after 8 innings, and then circled back and said, "Okay, actually, what do you have left?" And you can't do that.
I already turned the engine off.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do that to almost any professional athlete. You especially can't do it to a starting pitcher. And that's the exact way to put it. The engine was off. And it's not a Logan thing. It's every single starting pitcher. And I think you saw how upset Sean Estes was on post game on Monday. And it's either his inning in the 9th or it's not. There's no wait and see what happens. You see guys in the dugout. We have the shots of it constantly, the towels on their arm or whatever, and trying to stay out there, the look on their face. You can't tell a guy he's done and then circle back. So I think a lot of what happened afterwards and a lot of the talk afterwards, then Logan took some weird heat in some spots. Like I know some people talk about it locally and like he should be a dog. He should go get it. Like they told him he was done. So that's not great. And that was not a great way to handle that. And then I also, if you do tell him he's done, which is fine, like he's coming off the injured list. It's been a few starts. You maybe don't want to stretch it out too much further. That's fine. I don't love the decision to throw Keaton Wynn out there 3 games in a row, first time in his career, has barely even done 2 games in a row as a big league reliever.
Yeah.
Went back and looked, the 3rd time in the last couple years that someone has gone 3 in a row. Now, ironically, Dylan Smith did it the next day. So he's actually done it now. So he's joined the club. But Tyler Rogers and Sean Jelly did it last year, but nobody had done it for the Giants yet this year. And it wasn't just 3 in a row. It was 5 outs on Saturday and then pitches Sunday in Chicago. And then they get back at 4 in the morning. And so it was just, I thought the whole thing was just handled poorly. And that was going to be easily the biggest story of the week for the Giants until Bryce.
Till Bryce Eldridge bails them out. Yeah, it was extremely disappointing. We've been pretty pro Tony here. He gets a lot of heat, but this was a well-deserved one and what felt like a rookie manager kind of mistake.
Yeah, and it was, and there are times too, I mean, sometimes I think probably just come out and say like, hey, he just came off the IL. We didn't want to stretch him. There was no real explanation after Monday's game either. So that makes it worse. And it's the middle of the summer. There's not a lot going on. It's easy for the whole market to focus on a move like that.
Yeah. Moving on to Tuesday's game, another one where immediate runs given up in the first inning. Giants are battling back the whole game. Weren't quite able to get there, and really just nothing was going right. Complete just fall flat of a game compared to the first game 1 of the series, but where Logan Webb was dazzling and then it crumbled at the end.
Yeah, it's funny because they can't get a big hit to save their life for 2 days, and then they get 12 in a row on Wednesday. But my takeaway from Tuesday, and the one thing I wanted to touch on here is just I think they need to, all the big picture stuff aside that we talked about, just in terms of right now, and look, Tony's still very clearly like focused inning to inning on 2026 and like pinch hitting Buddy Kennedy for Jonah Cox and things like that. Like he's still trying to win every single inning and trying to win every single game, which that's his job. I think if they want a better shot of doing that, they need to get a little creative with this pitching staff.
Yeah.
they have Trevor in the rotation now, but like the Nationals loaded up. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody load up lefties the way they did against Adrian Hauser, who has pretty wild splits. And let's just say it, 5 years ago, Gabe Kapler would have thrown an opener out there. And
ooh, that's interesting. That's interesting, especially with the way this bullpen has been pitching, getting a different look at utilizing them and utilizing Hauser. I like that a lot.
I think they need to try some new things with this pitching staff. They're trying to go a little traditional at times, especially at the back of the rotation, and it's just not really working. So I don't. Now that they have 3 lefties again, Matt Gage is on the way back. Like, you can try some things, but Hauser's given up a 1,022 OPS to lefties. Like, this is just going to keep happening. And I don't know why they haven't really tried anything different there.
It's going to get eaten alive. All right. I like the sound of that a lot. I don't want to dwell too much on Monday and Tuesday's games as much as they probably should be and would be fair of us to focus a lot more of them. But I'm riding high right now, Alex. And I just feel like so glad Bryce Eldridge is up here this season. I think I said this to you in person when we were talking on Tuesday that I was a little worried towards the end of last season when they brought him up and he fell a little flat, that we were just in the same Giants prospect boat we've been in for a while now, but I feel like I've been proven wrong.
I think you said he was cooked. No, I'm kidding. No, we talked about that on Tuesday night. We were watching him in the night, and I think he homered as we were talking. So
yeah, probably.
It is one of the things. Like, again, he's 38 games into his career, but I just think you watch the way he goes through plate appearances and watch the way he works and watch the way he goes about his day and everything about it. Like, it just kind of feels like they finally found the guy who's gonna figure this out. And there's been a lot of failed Giants hitting prospects in the last decade. So to have one finally, and look, Casey's figured it out as well, but this is a different level of guy who is like always a top 100 guy.
Mm-hmm.
And like he has really shown nothing over the last 2 weeks to make you be pessimistic at all about what's ahead of him.
Yeah. I'm excited for the future. All right, Alex, let's talk some Giants roster moves and injuries before we move on to the rest of the podcast. What do we have here? Who do we have updates on? Elliot Ramos?
Elliot is starting to swing a bat, starting to run a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what I feel like there's almost a clock on like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If this team keeps, or at least if certain players on this team keep performing the way they do, it's going to be really interesting to see what Elliot Ramos comes back to job-wise.
Yeah, I mean, it goes for multiple guys as well. Like Harrison Bader signed a 2-year deal. He might come back to a world where Elliott has to play right and Casey Schmidt has to play left and Jung Hoo Lee has to play center because Bryce Eldridge has to be in the lineup.
Yeah.
So that one's going to be interesting to watch. Tyler Mahle threw a simulated game on Monday, I think, one of the 2 days this week. So he's on the way back. I know most Giants Talk listeners would be like, okay.
Yeah, fine. Didn't.
I do think there would be some trade interest. As much as he has struggled this year, he has a pretty good pedigree. And just talking to some people around the league recently, I do think there would be some interest. So in a weird way, I do think they have to throw him back into the rotation at some point.
Yeah, just to build value at the very least.
Yeah, and it's always weird to talk about guys that way, and I hate doing it, but it's just the reality here is they do need to trade some of these guys and see what they can get back. So that is part of the, that's part of the conversation. The Giants they know Robbie Ray is going to be part of this mix at the trade deadline, so they're hoping that he pitches a little bit better. So that is part of the conversation the next 6 weeks, a big part of it.
Yeah. Beyond that, Jason Foley's rehab got shut down.
Yeah. He's supposed to be a big part of this bullpen in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
His velocity is just not there. So he had kind of ran out the clock on his rehab assignment. This felt like a easy way to take a few days off, come back. He should help quite a bit if he's right. It's just I think we've seen in Henches is dealing with this as well. Like, it's the shoulder. Like, it takes some time to get back. So that's one I'm watching closely. And then the last one here, just one on Wednesday. Raver San Martin ended his rehab assignment. Tristan Beck was optioned. Will Brennan was DFA'd. And yes, San Martin is well aware that he looks just like Jimmy Butler. So watch him games. He knows about it. I think he has a jersey.
Very nice.
Fun little subplot.
Now, the roster move I'm not seeing you address here is nothing with Ryan Walker still?
No, he pitched. I think he pitched Tuesday. Gave up a run, but like gave up a weird bloop to start the inning.
Yeah.
So I think it's 2 runs and 8 appearances here. And that was that. We've talked about it a lot. I mean, Monday's another night like that where you kind of go like, it hasn't been great, but he's done it before.
Yeah.
So,
he at least, there's a version of him that has Monday night in him with no sweat.
Yeah, and Dylan Smith was the next option there. But there's an alternate universe where he's here, and you go like he's at least done it, and you can try it instead of trying Keaton win. I don't know. It's a weird one. I've asked about it this week and just haven't really gotten a good explanation of what currently is going on with Ryan Walker.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Alex, beyond the Giants, let's take a look around the league real quick and see how some of our old friends are doing and remember some guys. First up, former Giant Tyler Fitzgerald, former best second baseman in baseball. Tyler Fitzgerald was released by the Dodgers.
Speaking of all-time runs that get us,
really get yourself overexcited for that one.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a pod back in the day when we never did a pod where we said, "How do you build around this guy?" What do you?
No, but there was that. What was it? The off-season second baseman rankings where he was like number 3 or 4 in the.
I think he was like 6, and we did like half of a pod about how bad second base is, and we're like, Tyler Fitzgerald might actually be like a top 3 second baseman.
Yes. The Giants have too many second basemen.
Can't figure it out. So let him go. I hope he lands on his feet somewhere. Logan Porter, old friend, called up at the Astros.
Okay.
He was in AAA most of this year, or called up at the Angels, I think. Somebody called him up. Anyway, he's in the American League West somewhere.
All right.
I wanted to use that as that Drew Kavanaugh's catching in AAA right now, and we haven't talked about it at all, but he's kind of been a pop-up guy this year, and Giants love him. So Drew Kavanaugh is a catcher we might talk about.
Keep an eye out for Drew Kavanaugh.
We'll just mention that here. And then who else are we remembering? Chadwick Trump, speaking of old friends, catchers.
Where did he end up?
Friend of the pod, back to Baltimore. And then
looks good in the orange and black.
He does. This is not remembering some guys, but I didn't know where else to put this on this podcast rundown, especially after Bryce. Dusty Baker wrote a book, and it's out, and I've flipped through some of it already, and he has incredible stories to tell. So,
all right.
High recommendation for the Dusty Baker book. It's called Crossroads, and it came out on Tuesday.
All right, I am picking that up. Your book got me hooked on baseball nonfiction, and I'm after I'm done with the hockey smut I'm reading right now. Crossroads will be next.
I think he's going to sell more than the hockey smut. So
you know what? I'm going to throw another shout out in. He was shown on the broadcast on Monday, but Mike Kruko's son Wes is currently dancing in Phantom of the Opera in the city. So if anyone's looking for something to do before that wraps up, go see Wes Kruko in Phantom of the Opera.
There you go. Did Mike did you take the tarp off?
They have those shirts with like a chest painted on them.
There were rumors.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. You got to tell your daughter. I think maybe Friday. Got to have.
All right. We've got mailbag questions from listeners, and of course, we're going to preview the Giants once again facing off with the Chicago Cubs. But first, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Mancini Sleep World offers high-quality mattresses for ultimate comfort and support, so you wake up energized and refreshed every morning. Mancini's has been helping people sleep better for over 50 years. They built a reputation for top-quality mattresses and exceptional customer service. Stop by or visit online to see what's currently available. Okay, we have some questions from listeners. As always, if you have a question for us here on Giants Talk, go ahead and send it wherever you can find Alex or myself on social media. We'll add it to our collection and address it at a relevant point in the season. Up first today is a question from John. John says, with Arise playing how he is at the plate and in the field, and Schmidt in left field and still performing at the plate, do you think they will consider trying to sign Arise and trade Elliot Ramos? Keeping Schmidt in the game by putting him in left field gives them a lot of flexibility. He can easily stay in games if any infielder needs a day off or gets hurt.
It's an interesting take on our long-running conversation here of Luis Arias. I think my thing is not as much about Casey, because I do think you could find a spot for Casey this year and see where you stand at the end of the season, as it is like just two things. It's just, if you are this far under 500, you have to trade your best players who are trade chips.
Yes.
Who are not under contract beyond this year. So we've talked about that a lot. And then the other thing, the most important thing for me when it comes to Arias is just that after Bryce Eldridge, who is very close to graduating off of his prospect list, their next 4 best prospects are middle infielders.
Yeah.
And possibly soon to be next 5. We'll see how the number 4 pick goes and what they add there. But there's just not a lot of wiggle room on this infield with Chapman and Adames and Eldridge and Devers. And look, some of these guys might not arrive. Some of these guys might arrive playing center field or whatever it is, but they just don't have a lot of flexibility right now. And I don't think they can do another long-term deal. So you just kind of have to, he's so much fun to watch, but that's my biggest thing there, is just looking at Adames' future and looking at what's coming in middle infield down the line. Is like, they just can't really afford a middle infielder.
Yes. Yes. And I think we talked about this last episode or the episode before, in that he took a pretty sweet deal to prove himself at second base over 1 year with the Giants. Yeah. And what he gets paid on his next deal is going to be enormous. And it's coming kind of right in as the Giants are feeling the weight of a handful of contracts like that maybe they're wishing they weren't a part of all of them right now.
Yeah, and I think circling back to what we started with Bryce, like, you know what you have now in him, and you know, Devers has been a disappointment to an extent, but he's here. He's going to be in the lineup. Adames is signed, Chapman is signed, Lee is signed. You kind of know that offensively you should be okay moving forward. So now it's what do you do around him, and yeah, if you can go out and get some pitching for Luis Arias at the deadline, I think you just, for the health of your franchise, you have to do it. And he has been so much fun to watch, and he was a big part of today's rally as well. And he's been unbelievable at second base, but that's just taking a rational look at where they have to go as a franchise.
Yeah. I'm going to jump to our next question with that in mind. Chad asks, where does this Arise run rank among the most entertaining individual Giants seasons you've watched? Not necessarily the best players, but the guys who made you want to watch every single at-bat.
This is going to be a bad comparison because Luis Arias is a tremendous clubhouse guy, and the guy I'm going to bring up is a bad clubhouse guy and left under horrible circumstances. But this reminds me a little bit of first half Melky in 2012.
Oh, that's a good pull.
Kind of came out of nowhere and just became must-watch every at-bat. And they're very different players, but just Melky just shows up and it's must-watch every at-bat with this group of guys who you're already, there's other big names there. Arias at-bats are unbelievable. And the mannerisms, the frozen statue thing he does. There was one the other day he fouled off of, I think it was off of Ruiz, the catcher. And, I don't even think the ball had, gotten 2 feet past Ruiz, and he was already checking up on him to make sure he was okay. I think they probably know each other.
Yeah.
I just wish there was a Arias side cam that was on all his mannerisms and everything else. You could just watch that, because it is so much fun to watch at the ballpark, aside from just the hitting talent, but just kind of as a character in the batter's box. He's really unlike anything I can remember the Giants having in recent years.
I have a kind of a completely different feel on it. And it's in that it's been really difficult for me to get emotionally attached to Luis Arias, just knowing that he is a rental at best and a half a season trade piece at worst. or maybe flip those actually.
Yeah.
But it's almost more like Blake Snell vibes to me, where it's like, wow, he is out here doing incredible things as a Giant, and I wonder if I'm going to think about it at all after he leaves this team, which sucks because he's so different than Blake Snell vibes wise. I was not a huge lover of Blake Snell. We talked about that when he was on the team before he moved on to our bitter rivals. But yeah, when Jung-Hoo Lee is up right now, I have much more of like this is our guy. He is a Giant. He's going to be here for a while. We're building around guys like this. And then Arias, he's doing great stuff out there, but maybe I'm just guarding my heart too much, Alex. But
no, I think that's a good one because it is a super talented guy who's probably here for not too long. And I think you kind of, similar to with Blake, where it's like we'll always remember the no-hitter. Some of those big strikeout games. With the Rise, I 20 years from now, I probably will see his name pop up on whatever the next version of Twitter is, and people are engagement farming graphics or whatever we have down the line.
Yep.
His name will pop up, and I'll be like, man, he was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And again, I don't mean anything against the guy. Like, he's been really good in the clubhouse. He's been good with us as the media. It's just the reality of where they are as a team.
Yeah. But good question, Chad. Next question is from Brett. Am I safe to get a Schmidt jersey, or is he a name on the block, given all our middle infield prospects?
If I were shelling out for a jersey, I'd probably buy a Bryce Eldridge jersey right now.
What if you wanted to be like a little bit hipster?
Yeah,
like, but I'm not getting that.
It's the safest thing to do, but I think you're relatively safe with Casey.
Okay.
I don't look with where they're at salary wise and where they're at as a franchise and what they spend in the offseason. They really need guys like Bryce and Casey as part of this mix who are pre-arb or early arbitration years, not making a whole lot of money, balancing out everything else. So I think you're pretty safe to buy that Casey Schmidt jersey. And I would also say this is a podcast that's always been a fan of Casey's game and the way Casey handles himself. And if something happens and he gets traded 2 years from now, it's going to be a great one to wear to the ballpark. So
that's a great point. I want people to don't be afraid to get a jersey of a guy you love and wear it after he's gone. Because when I see guys who had short or good but a couple year long stints as a Giant, when I see those jerseys at the ballpark, it brings me joy every time.
Yeah. As long as you feel good about the guy and he's a good dude and you're not going to something. And I can tell you safely, Casey's not going to show up on social media 4 years from now and go, oh, man, I'm not going to.
What have you done?
Yeah. There's guys from 10, 15 years ago who you see this around and go, I think I would tape that one up in the back.
Exactly. That one gets retired.
This will be if Cole sees you around the ballpark 10 years from now, he's going to be like, good Giant. Glad you bought that jersey. So
Exactly. Or I'm sure
about it. Yeah.
Bo asks, what does a complete teardown rebuild look like? I've heard Pavs dismiss it, but it is an expensive veteran-heavy bad team that is 8 to 10 games under 500, any worse than a young, cheap rebuilding team that is 10 to 20 games under 500.
Or you could be the Nationals, be young, cheap rebuilding and kind of spunky.
Yeah, that's the ideal version.
Yeah, they've a couple Bay Area guys running that team. They've done a nice job.
Man, the Nationals are just this team that has reinvented themselves so many times over the past 15 years. It's been hard to keep track of.
Yeah, it's we've answered this question a fair amount, and I appreciate everyone who sends questions. I think my main thing has always been like a full teardown is you trade Logan, and especially with how well he's pitching right now. And I think this is not because of anything that's actually real. I think just the way the rumor mill goes, his name will probably pop up in the next 6 weeks, just as people try to connect dots.
Because it'll get clicks every time.
Yep, it'll work. I've seen some of that already. So that is where I've always said, like, if you want to fully tear it down, like, that's the move. And but we've also talked about this a lot. They can't fully tear it down for a number of reasons, including the fact they can't pick in the top 10 next year. But I think mostly because of days like today where I'll circle back again, like Devers, Adames, Chapman, Lee, they are under contract. They're going to be very hard to trade, even if you wanted to. Although certainly it's a little bit easier than it was 2 weeks ago with some of these guys.
Yeah.
But I think that the fact that you have these guys and now you have Bryce who has shown up and is going to be part of it as well. There is a window here. It's not like it doesn't feel like it sounds dumb to say when they're 13 games under 500, but there's a group here that's not going anywhere. So it is technically a window of something.
The window's not massive.
Yeah.
But there.
Yeah. And I think you look across the way like the Nationals and go like, you know what, if you do make the right moves around the edges and you find some ways to steal some bases and get some hits with runners in scoring position and close games out a little bit better, Nationals were in a wild card spot if they win this game today. Like they would have been the third wild card team. So 27-28, doesn't have to be a lost cause.
And I think something on paper, a young, cheap rebuilding team that's a little worse than this, it's fine. But based on what we've been talking about with the way the contracts are built, the way the no trade clauses are, I don't know that a young, cheap rebuilding team is an option if they wanted it to be. If they said we would love to trade Logan Webb and rebuild, they're still sitting on years worth of super expensive contracts that they either can't trade or would be able to get a pittance for.
Yeah, I think my argument against any sort of web trade would just be like, you're kind of what you just said, you're locked into this group for a few years here. So are you going to trade the one guy who can start game one of a postseason series if this group does get hot next year? Or maybe they win 15 in a row right now because of this walk-off grand slam. But like you can't trade the one guy you need at the top of your rotation he's part of this core that they have, and their job moving forward is figuring out how do you supplement that core in a much better way than you did in the 2025-26 offseason. Yeah.
Now, like 2019 or something could have been a really good year to rebuild, but we're past that and we're dealing with the chips that are currently on the table.
Blake Snell was not traded, as you mentioned. So, few guys.
Yep. All right. Scott says expected stats are now widely available for both teams and fans to see. Teams seem to be using this info more and more, at least for off-season moves and personnel decisions. I'm wondering how much teams rely on expected stats during the season. Does that info make its way to the manager ever?
Oh, yeah. It's every day. It's all day, every day. It's, you can look at guys and you can see there are times like Devers early in the year where he's just swinging through fastballs down the middle where you're like, you don't need to look at the expected stats. There are other times like Bryce Eldridge, who's slumping early when he returned. I think he was hitting like 150 for a couple of weeks, but he was hitting the ball hard, and you can look at some of the expected stuff and feel good about it. Chapman at times the last few years, like he generally hits the ball hard, so you can feel good about what's coming. So it's a big part of every single day. I think it is filtering in. Manny Machado probably doesn't care at all, but it's filtering into other guys. I know this spring we talked to Eric Miller about the difference last year between his ERA and his FIP, and he was like, I was well aware of the difference there. So these guys are aware, and it's generally it's used, I think, as a positive, like this guy's going to turn things around, where you could also use it the other way and go like, hey, we see the BABIP there. Like we see how many guys we see your expected ERA, things like that. But it's all day, every day. And, I think for Tony, but mostly for I think guys like Hunter Mentz and Christian Wonders and some of these coaches. It's a part of everything they do.
And the other thing about expected stats is, as with any stat, not always right. Don't forget about the Giants having a 90 whatever % chance to win the game coming out of the 8th on Monday.
To lose the game?
To win the game coming out of the 8th, and then it all fell apart.
Oh, on Monday. Yeah. What was Wednesday? Like 99% to lose, probably?
Oh, let's see. I can pull that up right now if you give me a few seconds of filibustering.
Yeah, I think with everything, it's like you kind of have to use it all. I mean, some people will look at it and go, this guy's a demon because he's hitting the ball hard and this and that. But I think we try to use it all, and the teams do as well.
98.5% chance to lose.
Feels like it should have been higher.
Feels like it should have been higher. All right, we'll do one more from an anonymous Twitter user. Can we blame this team's struggles on the awful City Connect unis? I know the team is bad regardless of the unis, but it would be a good excuse to can the ugly threads.
Well, you're the City Connect guy, so.
Look, Mr. Anonymous Twitterer, I heard this for years about the City Connect jerseys I really liked. So I can't turn and blame it on the new ones now. That being said, I would be curious to see what the next iteration of Giants City Connects would be like. But I like the color scheme. I like the branding in the ballpark on Tuesdays. I like the way it all comes together. Are they the best in the league? No. Are they the worst in the league? Far from it. I really like that pop of purple that some of the guys like Adamas incorporate, even when it's not a Tuesday.
They are 2-3 in the City Connects this year, which is right about in line with their actual record. So
they're just the Giants, no matter what you dress.
So
them in.
Basically, they're just the Giants, no matter what.
Yeah. All right. With that, let's take a look at Giants versus Cubs. Giants just left Wrigley Field what feels like a few days ago, and they're already facing the Cubs again. Alex, who do we have pitching?
It is Ben Brown versus Landon Roop, TBA versus Trevor McDonald, and Colin Ray versus Logan Webb. So they have their three pit. Those are kind of the three guys you'd want. I know Landon's been up and down a little bit recently, but those are the three guys you would want coming off a win like today's.
Yeah.
So
we are recording this Wednesday after the game, which means the Giants have played a whole series since they last saw the Cubs, but the Cubs only have one game and 3 innings in the books. So we don't have a lot of info on what they've been up to since we last saw them. But you know what? It was a fierce matchup, and I just really hope it's more like that Friday game where the Giants piled on runs than the anemic offense we saw the 2 games after that.
They were not very impressive.
The Cubs or the Giants?
Well, yeah, we talk about the Giants all the time, but the Cubs did not particularly look scary. So
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. This was, a homestand where coming off a decent road trip, a homestand where they should, in theory, make up some ground. So they did not on Monday and Tuesday. See where this goes.
Yeah. And because I think this is a curiosity, and I think this happened to the Giants earlier this year, but the Cubs are going Giants, Rockies, Giants, Rockies.
So they're at Coors right now?
They are at Coors right now.
Okay. Yeah, we've I think Giants have Braves back-to-back weeks coming up. So
yeah,
seems to be a lot of that.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on this and more. More than anything, we are here to celebrate Bryce Eldridge. We got a glimpse of the future at the DH position and maybe first base tonight, and hopefully many more moments to come. Thanks for listening to Giants Talk. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a glowing review. Go buy Alex's book. Go buy Dusty Baker's book, Crossroads. And we'll be back after the Cubs series to follow up on what happened there and more.